And today on the Tacomaholic channel, we install the 2T PAM, which stands for 2 Tiny Puppies and Mice, 2 True Pro Adult Mod, 2 Test Pharmaceutical Abdominal Maps, 2 Teal Pink Amber Mollusks, 2 Tree-Powered Auxiliary Monarchs. Oh, the 2T PAM stands for 2nd Gen Toyota-Powered Accessory Mount. Welcome back to the Tacomaholic channel, everyone. If this is your first time stopping by, please go ahead and subscribe if you love everything related to Tacomas. And today we are installing the 2T PAM mount, which I'm super excited for. But we're going to do that on the inside of the truck because it's a little chilly outside. All right, everybody, before we actually get started, I would like to send out a huge thank you to State 48 Overland for hooking me up with the 2T PAM kit. They got it out to me super quickly. Check out their website down below. They have literally everything you could possibly want if you're looking to build up your Tacoma. And I will also be doing a follow-up video for a special feature seen on their website that I have not seen anywhere else on a Tacoma product website. So stay tuned for that. Here is everything included in the 2T PAM kit, but before we actually get into all the components, which you can see there's not that much, let's go over real quick what this thing actually does. So I'm just going to hold it up here real quick. Once you get it mounted, you can see on the 2nd gens it sits right up here on the top of your center console, right above your stereo. And you can see it sort of looks like it's shaped like half of a hexagon, and it sort of flows with the natural lines of the components you already have in there nicely, I think. Right here in the middle, you can see under the cover, you do have 2 extra USB ports. There are 2 options when you're shopping around for this thing. There's the, I think it's 2.1 amp, which is like a standard charge. And then the one I got, the upgraded one, is the 4.8 amp, which I would assume just charges things twice as quickly. A little more draw, but definitely worth it. Once you get this installed, you do have extra charging capacity, of course, which is great if you're running all kinds of communication devices, maybe a cell phone, tablet, all that stuff. But also you can see on here, all these little circles, you can put those RAM mounts, so you can mount tons of stuff to this that need to be charged. So you can have something right here, 2 more on this side, and then if you flip it to the top, you can see you have actually 3 more places to mount stuff. So the sky's the limit with your creativity on what you want to mount on this thing. And this is super sturdy. I don't know if it's steel or aluminum, but definitely weighs a pound or 2, solid. It's going to hold whatever you put on it pretty much. And as far as what you actually get with the kit, this is the main 2T PAM unit, of course. It does have these 2 side legs that help with the mounting install. You get 2 bags of all the hardware you need, a bag with the 2 connections you need to splice into the wires to get everything wired up. And of course the wires, which are already assembled for you. All you have to do, again already assembled, is just plug them into the back of the 2T PAM and get everything connected. And these are the 2 mounting legs. You can see one side on the right here is much shorter than the one on the left, and this is how they'll actually go on the T-PAM. So the short one on the right, long one on the driver's side. And as you can see, I have the 2T PAM fully installed. I survived the install. And full disclosure, I was going to do a complete install tutorial on how to get it installed, but probably about halfway or a third of the way through the install, I was just starting to get really frustrated with a bunch of small things. With the hopes of just speeding up the installation on my end, I decided not to do a tutorial video. So what I'll do instead, since Expedition Essentials, which is the company that makes this, they have an install video. What I'll do is sort of give you pointers, like personal pointers I came across during the install that I feel like the video they have sort of, either they omit or it sort of glosses over. So go ahead and check out the link in the description for the install video from Expedition Essentials. Make sure you watch that a few times. Of course, when you get your kit, it will have written instructions as well, which are easy to follow. So I'm just going to give you a bunch of pointers based on my personal experience installing the 2T PAM. Okay, one of the very first things I encountered, once you take the lower AC control unit out and unplug that, and once you have your stereo unit unscrewed and loose so it's hanging out, there's like 100 things plugged in back here that you need to disconnect. Well, as you may or may not know, there are 2 types of people in the world. Those who have skill in disconnecting those electrical connections, and then people like me who always seem to have trouble with it. So that part was a little bit of a pain just because there's so many connections. Maybe get a set of pliers. Obviously don't damage any of the connectors when you're doing that. But one thing I completely missed when I was disconnecting all this stuff, in the back of the unit right here, probably about towards the middle, there's a cluster of plugs that are just plugged into the unit, so they're not hardwired into the rest of the truck. So I had unplugged those without realizing it, and so that stuff you don't even need to unplug because they will come out with the whole unit. So when you're back there, just be aware of that. That'll save you some hassle. The next biggest thing that made this install more difficult than it needed to be from my personal experience is I was determined to get this thing to fit without using a Dremel tool to trim the sides over here. So I can tell you definitely from personal experience, just be prepared to use your Dremel tool. So you definitely will need one of those for the install. I thought I might be able to hook it in there without cutting anything up. So I had this whole silver plastic piece out. I probably took it off, removed it, installed it 5 or 6 times, just trying to get it in there just right. When, I was being stubborn about it, I should have just caved in earlier, whipped out the Dremel, and then gone to town. Now, that being said, with the Dremel, I was able to get this back in very easily. I did not Dremel anything over here on the passenger side. As far as this side, there are 2 things to Dremel. The first, when you have this whole silver piece out, which it is, this whole piece is one piece once you have everything empty in the middle. When you have this out, get your Dremel like the grinding wheel. There is a tab on the inside of here. It's directly where you're going to bolt the side of this in. So you need to trim that down. And the video, the video from Expedition Essentials, they sort of glossed over that part, and you can kind of see it in the written instructions. But so you will trim that tab down. And in the side, I know my steering wheel is sort of blocking it, but where the brace attaches right here, I sort of trimmed like probably from about here, so just maybe a 1/4 inch below this first mounting screw, all the way down to the second mounting screw. You sort of loop it in, so it's like a semicircle cut out from here, widest in the middle, and then sort of curving back around here so it'll fit in. After you Dremel those parts, and again, I know the steering wheel's in the way, apologies for that. The black plastic panel right here, when you flip it out, there's another tab that hangs up this way that attaches to the tab on here. So I shaved that one off. I did not shave anything off the side of this plastic tab. And even if you do have to shave just a little bit, rest assured that the side brace right here will cover any of that, within probably about a 1/4 inch, so don't go too far than that. But just shave off a little, see if it'll fit. When you have this silver plastic piece going in and out, it's pretty easy to do, so just make sure you take your time with that because you don't want to shave off too much of this. Even though everything's dark, it probably wouldn't show up anyway. It'll just be an eyesore. And then back here, hopefully it's going to come up on camera there. You do have to Dremel a small hole in the top of your stereo. It's going to be the black shiny plastic. I just sort of made mine as tight as it needs to be. I didn't want it to be any larger, so it's an eyesore, even though it is obviously behind the unit where it plugs in, where the wire runs up from underneath. So I just used like a circular grinding bit, made like a semicircle cutout in the back of the unit there. And lastly, the part, aside from me being stubborn and not wanting to Dremel initially, the part that I found the most difficult about the install was per the instructions. And again, if you are, an electrical guru, you really know what you're doing with wiring, you could probably figure out an easier way to hardwire this thing in. The directions say they use the cigarette lighter port down here, and you do have 2 of them. I tested both of these. When you unplug them from the back, and when you're doing this, all of this is removed, so you can get your hands back there, but it is very tight, and I don't have giant hands. So if you have huge hands and you're trying this, good luck. It's probably going to be a pain. And like I said, that was the hardest for me, even though I have smaller hands. So I unplugged both of these ports just to see if one had more slack than the other, and both of them barely have any slack at all, at least for my 2014 second gen. I don't know if some of the second gens, they gave you more wire or it wasn't secured as much, but for mine, I could barely move it at all. So when you're hardwiring, the positive to positive, negative to negative down there for the cigarette lighter, that was super complicated. It took a while. They supply you with the, splice snaps that you put the wire you're splicing into right next to the wire for the 2T PAM, and then you clamp them together with a piece of metal and then snap it down. So just given that you don't have a lot of room to work with, the snap clamps are a little large considering the space you're working in. That part was difficult, and that probably took me at least 30 minutes just trying to get it in there. And of course I got one in, and then I dropped the other splice connector sort of down in. It doesn't really have far to go when you're down there, but it makes getting it out difficult, so I had to use some pliers. And again, you'll see what I'm talking about when all this is empty, but there's just no way to get in there. I couldn't even get my own hand through the opening right here. to access it. So I felt like a surgeon doing like open heart surgery, just getting those wires installed. And of course, you know, and this is mentioned in the other video in the written instructions, once you get everything wired right there, go ahead and plug in the 2T-PAM. Make sure it's working before you button any of this up, because otherwise you might be in for a rude awakening. And the final installation advice tip I can give you, and this should go with any project on your truck, especially electrical stuff or where something like this where you have to remove a bunch of stuff just to get it started. Just take your time, don't try to rush it. On paper, the install looks very simple, and a lot of it is. It's just a bunch of small steps that you can't let them beat you up, which I started to. So just keep a cool head, take your time, give yourself probably at least twice as long as you think. I thought this was going to take about an hour, and mine ended up taking way longer than that because I was trying to record at the same time and I just started getting frustrated. So keep a cool head. This should be a fairly straightforward install. And now that I have the unit powered, everything, I double checked, everything's working with both chargers, and those are I think it's almost 5 amps, so those are like a double charge capacity. The next coolest thing about the unit is all these mounting points, and the first thing I'm going to show you guys what I'm mounting. You can see right here for the mic for my CB radio setup right there. I just have it, I got this on Amazon, it was like $3 or $4, just a regular holder for the clip on the back of the CB, and I just have this on here with double-sided Velcro, which has been working fine, but as you can see, I've got this sweet clip that will mount right up here on the T-PAM, so I'm going to go ahead and upgrade that to this. Of course, I can mount the CB mic holder just about anywhere. I thought about doing it right here on the straight one, but once you put the mic up there, I don't want the cord hanging in front of the screen. So I did this diagonal over here on the passenger side. So even though that is at a slant, once you get the mic in there, you can just sort of tilt it straight so it hangs right down. So you can see this wire is sort of blocking the vent right here, but that shouldn't be an issue. It hangs relatively straight for where I have my CB positioned. And then of course I'll just take off the old Velcro clamp I was using, and that's good to go. So you can see there's one quick attachment for the 2T-PAM. Aside from that, you can use these universal RAM mount. This is like the base, and then you put the arm with something else that has a ball socket, so you can have like iPads, your phone, navigation, pretty much whatever you want up here. And again, you've got one mount right here. You can see the holes on either side of that. Just sort of line up, screws right in. So you've got 1, 2, 3, and then 2 on the top. So I still have, after mounting that CB, 5 more additional points I can use for the RAM mounts like that. And just in case you are wondering, I know it seems like when you install this, it might start blocking your view, but of course I don't have anything mounted to it right yet. I'm trying to get the camera lined up in like my face position where I sit where I'm driving. You can see I still have this much space up here, which several inches of view, where it's obviously not blocking anything. It's not even covering my view to the hood. I can still see both wipers and all that. Now, of course, once you put like one of the RAM mounts up there, that starts to stick up. So when you begin mounting stuff on the top specifically, you want to make sure it comes out more lateral than vertical, because that will start blocking your view. But you can see right here, it definitely takes some getting used to, just because there's something there you're not used to, but it does not block the view at all. So I'm super excited about that. And that will just about do it for this video. Go ahead and comment below. Let me know what you think of the 2T-PAM unit. I love it. It looks fantastic, super functional. And I made the install more difficult than it needed to be, but super excited. And as you guys know, I'm going to get this thing loaded up with cool accessories in no time. As always, thank you so much for supporting the channel by watching this video. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see you in the next video.